Well, good evening. It's good evening. It's Monday night again, and we're back with another Bees All Day presentation. So we got some rain this afternoon. We got inch and a quarter in less than an hour. I understand Clay's getting some rain right now. Um, so that should be interesting if we get any of what Clay's getting. So finally finished up extracting all the honey this week. Couldn't get it all. We had a lot of supers that were not capped, and that was kind of disappointing by not having all my supers capped. So, yep, didn't get as much honey as we thought we were going to get, which is not a good thing. So, uh, it is what it is, right? That's the way beekeeping goes. Hi, Kathy. How are you? Just so everybody knows, Nobby pre-orders are now open at Shenandoah Bee Supply. We're going to be taking pre-orders through December 1st. So everybody get your order in so we can get it all down there or get it shipped to you. All right. I think you'll like the prices that you're going to see on the Nobby pre-order page. So that's where you need to pre-order from. I've got a page specially set up for Nobby pre-orders. If you go to my Facebook page, there's a link on it. It'll take you right directly to the page. So that way to make it easy. So how's everybody been doing? Hey, Bill, how are you tonight? How's everybody been doing? I know Kathy and JT did some grafting over the weekend. They did some grafting prior to and got quite a few cap cells out of it. Have they hatched out yet, Kathy? So, but it looks like it's going to be a rainy evening all up and down the eastern seaboard and mid-Atlantic states. They got quite a few flood watches out for the area too. So, yeah, we're getting what they got in the Midwest. So it's here. First round will tomorrow. Well, that's a good thing, Kathy. Got them all caged, right? So I'll hatch out in the cages in the cell builder. Clay, lightning says shaking his old house. Yeah, well, yeah, it shook the house up here a couple of times too. It struck down in the field. I think it got one of the trees. The way it looked, I haven't been down there, so I don't know whether it got what it got or how much damage it did do, or if it did any at all. So no life beat. James did a walk away split. Got one sting. So was that a nitrile glove or a leather glove, James? So how many of you out there have started thinking about winter prep? I don't know, Brad. I imagine he's going to be on here. I haven't heard anything that he's not coming on or that he's going to be late. So I imagine he'll be here sooner or later. So, hey, Dennis. Still pulling honey. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are still pulling honey. Yep. But still, we need to start thinking about winter prep. What we're going to do this winter, and when we're going to treat in the fall, and what we're going to treat with. So, got to stay ahead of them. You got to think a season ahead. So, hey, buckwheat all summer. That's a feat right there. Yep. So, Brad, what have you been up to lately? How your bees doing down there? They've been doing all the heat, pulling honey next week. Hmm. Yeah, it's still warm up here. We've had a few hot days. I don't want to say real hot, but we've had some humid days. So that's the bad part about this time of year. You never know what you're going to get from day to day. So rentals. He's making all the money with his rental property, right? That's how he's got time to be a beekeeper. He's got rental properties. He works for himself. So what else has everybody been up to before we get into a discussion here tonight? Trying to let some more people get in here. Then we'll start talking. I haven't seen Nancy or anybody yet. I guess they're coming in. The myth, the legend, Sawmill Charlie.
Yeah, right.
How are you, Charlie?
Not too bad. We had some storms here this afternoon.
I was going to ask if you're getting any weather.
Yeah, it rained here about 4 o'clock or so. And then maybe that was a half an hour or something like that. And then we got just hit here, I don't know, within the last hour.
You in Anne Arundel County?
Anne Arundel's closer to Washington, D.C., but it's pretty, it was a pretty big, heavy cell. A lot of, I guarantee it was a couple inches of rain falling. And I don't know, it was steady. It wasn't too windy, which was good. And hey, Bundy. Hey, Brian, Danny, Roy, Dodd. So
Be right back, Charlie. I got to turn my light on.
All right. So anyway, so it was, lightning carrying on. I unplugged the computer and stuff back. Well, I was putting stuff away at around 4 o'clock, and it lit off a crack of lightning, or not so much lightning, but a thunder and a little bit of lightning. I'm like, okay, come into the house, unplug everything.
Yep.
I don't trust any of the battery backups. I've had them; they don't work.
Yeah.
As far as lightning goes.
Yeah, we had lightning hit down in the field, so I don't know what it did or what it didn't do. So
it's brightening back up now. So
it's still
electric went out a few times, but flickered or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, the sun's getting ready to go down here. It's brightened up a little bit, but it's still a little cloudy.
So while that was all going on, and I had shut the main computer down and unplugged it and all that stuff, so I was watching Darren from the Pennsylvania Beekeeper doing his grafting video.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
Good.
Mentioned you and the class, and he mentioned some things that I had to think about when I was doing my, grafting, and it's where, like, okay, he was saying, he learned not to be on an angle with his Chinese grafting tool, but to go straight in. I said, yeah, it's like a dart. You got to go straight in and let the tongue do the work, slide it across the bottom and pick up stuff. And you know, he takes him, you know, it takes everybody several tries, and then they finally get the little ins and outs about it, you know, things that people can't really can't explain and everything. So he got like 19 out of 30 cells and all that. It might have been recorded a while back. What happened here? Bill just lost power, everybody. So I guess I'm the host. For now, the only problem is can't let anybody in. So, hey, James. You're going to get the Roxanne strips, huh? Have you tested as far as you know, whether you got a low mite? Well, is that right, Clay? It's the Charlie Show. Yeah, that's right. Hey, Billy Lee. Okay. You can still dial in, Bill, through your phone. So anyway, see if you can't connect into the stream through your phone, Bill. Hey, Randy. So that's what's been happening with me here in Maryland. Hey, and I've been going through the bees here over the weekend. I've got all my honey extracted. I helped out a neighbor of mine, friend of mine, and he came over and got his honey extracted. He got about 100 pounds, which was good for him. And let's see what else. Clean the yard up, and been putting things away. Went through the hives this past weekend. I checked every hive behind me there, all 26 of them. Made sure they were queen right, and if they weren't queen right, I marked them. I got one nuke out there that's not queen right. I got queens hatching tomorrow night. Here comes Bill.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm on my phone. So I lost power. My computer's down. I have no internet.
Right.
So as soon as the internet comes back up, I'll be able to log back in. Sorry about that, everybody.
Well, just telling everybody what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Been basically cleaning up the apiary, putting all my supers are in the freezers. And I had a 10 framer. It was queenless. I knew it was queenless. I condensed it down basically to a double medium nuke, 10 frames. And I happened to have, I knew I had at least two made it queens. So I papered one in there, and there was another hive I papered in. And I was looking into this one. Oh, there goes Bill. And looked into, here he comes back. And you're sideways, Bill.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to get my phone set up here for now.
Did you get any power back?
Yeah, Let's see if it'll come back up. Of course, my computer was on and it's got a reboot and everything else right now. So
How many supers, Brett? Gosh.
depends on how
I,
big your freezer is, Charlie.
well, I got multiple freezers. I've got two big chests, a medium sized chest my son happened to get for free, and then an upright. The upright holds 5. And I'd say somewhere around 30 to 40 supers, something like that. I think one whole, I never really, I counted them, but I forgot. I know the little one holds 5. The other one will hold maybe a dozen. And then, yeah, it's around, I'll say around 40, Brett. And I never was much on the chemical thing, at the wax malls and all that stuff. So I had bought an upright, when you can buy them for $75 a piece used, as long as they work.
Yeah, as long as they work, they work great.
I see one on Facebook here, Marketplace here recently. One of the beekeeper things that I belong to, she had Hive and medium size. She maybe would hold maybe 12 medium supers for $125 or $150. I think she wanted to sell the Hive and the freezer. Yeah, Brett, I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 freezers. Upright freezers are worthless as far as I'm concerned. They don't hold very much at all. But the one I got was a commercial grade type, and it was cheap. And the other 2 are great. The two of them are the biggest chest freezers I could get that are homemade freezers. And then the other one was a freezer that my son happened to have. If it wasn't for that, I would be out of freezer space. I'd have to rotate stuff in and out. But I put my supers in there, and that way it can kill any parasites, bugs, whatever. And all that. Wax moths especially. Even though it's a honey super, they'll go after it. So did all that. Papered in a couple mated queens I happen to have. And then I had a queen. I seen her in my 2-frame mating box, and they were balling her for some reason. I guess they were mad at her because she hadn't done nothing. Anyway, there was another hive there. It happened to be open. I just give it a real good whap, and they all fell out into that hive. It was queenless. I did see her going down, get away from that grouping of bees and going down into the frame. And I'm like, hopefully you'll make it. We'll see. Yep, Brett, I do leave them. I leave them in there until I'm ready to put them back on the hives. Yep, that's my storage facility and all. I think Bill's froze. So, been doing that. So everybody, I condensed the hive, like I said, down to a nuke. Put that mated queen in. I papered her in. Papered another one that was really nice. And we'll see how they work out. Now the rest of them are queen right. Some of them are 2024s. Brad, I can't let you in because Bill's the only one can let you in, hopefully. And he's froze, it seems like. I don't know whether he can let you in or not. Bill's right in the middle of a storm down there. Yeah, he's froze. Yeah, Billy Lee, I think it tastes as good as past years. It's medium amber, I guess, color wise. It's not the light stuff. When it's lighter, that's when the locust is more locust than it is poplar. And locust, we got a big washout up here. As soon as locust started, yeah, I'm done pulling honey, Brad. Um, Locust gives you. Here he comes. There he is. Bill must have heard you. There he. Bill must be back up and running.
Yeah, I am.
You can take and get rid of your secondary
Yep.
person.
There we go. Now we're back.
So, Brad, how was the big hole in the ground?
It was nice. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've been there one time.
Yeah, my wife she sent me a message today while I was working. They actually had 2 fires over there that they lost a bunch of historical cabins and stuff or sites.
Oh, really?
They had
They lost the Grand Canyon Lodge.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's that great big place, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the one with all the trees, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What happened there? Just a regular fire or just a forest fire?
I don't think they know yet.
Yeah.
I doubt if they'll ever be able to put that back.
No. I think it was all log.
Yeah, it was nothing left but the foundation. So that's what they were saying on news tonight, anyway.
I didn't get to watch the news. Clay, 108.
Todd was 108 today.
Oh, he was 100. Oh, Jesus.
When was down there?
It's hot out there.
When was down there at the Grand Canyon, we actually got to see some elk.
Yeah.
They had one of the sites that we stopped at. They had some Indian women selling some different kind of jewelry and stuff, pottery that they make, and they had a nice area where you could walk and go view the Grand Canyon and stuff. And those elk were just going through the flower beds that they had planted and everything, and eating the leaves off the trees. And you could tell where they had eaten all the trees as high as they could reach.
Yeah.
And
they trimmed the branches warm, didn't they?
It was 2 female elk, and you knew that they were used to being around people the way they were acting, because they come right up to you. And I reached for a leaf up high and fed it to it, and the kids were taking pictures and stuff. And this lady, she must have been a liberal. She yelled out, "Somebody's gonna lose a hand feeding that elk."
She must have been a sorry, Safety Sally.
My brother wanted to tell her, "Look, lady, we live with alligators. We ain't afraid of a elk."
That would have been a great one. Don't worry, lady. We live with alligators. We know what we're doing.
We stay in the woods.
Well, I'm glad you're on here, Brad, because what I wanted to talk about tonight was winter preparations and fall treatments.
You don't have winter down there.
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted the contrast on here.
No, I'm not gonna do any. I'm gonna do Apagard again, but I'm not gonna do it till probably September, because
that's your fall treatment.
That's when the temperature could get down. Now, as soon as I'm supposed to start pulling the honey next week, I'm finally gonna get a little bit of time, and I'm gonna go ahead and do some oxalic acid and some pads until September. Because as soon as those hives start decreasing, the mites I'm gonna try to just keep them. All that oxalic does is keep them from getting out of hand.
Yeah.
I learned last year that it don't, when your hives are big and you got mites, well, as they shrink, you get more and more mites. Well, the oxalic acid don't really, when you got, because we keep brood all the time, it don't really decrease. Like let's say you check and you got 5 mites. Well, you check them after the oxalic and the pads, and you're still going to have, around the same amount. You're not going to get zeros out of them or ones
Right.
or twos, but it keeps them from going further up, higher.
Yeah. And that makes sense. That's how many grams you using?
The max. I ain't gonna say how many, but sometimes it's even twice.
That's a good answer. I like that.
The recommended dose.
Yeah, the recommended dose.
I tell you what, I did a video in one hive that had a lot of mites last year, and I mean I was counting like in the 30s and 40s in this one hive, because it was the one I told you about that didn't take the apagard down. They just built coconuts around it.
They built a wall around it.
Yeah, they built a wall around it. And man, I hit them with every time I did the oxalic acid, I hit them with 2 and 3 rounds at one time. I mean, I just kept the door on, and when I pull out the white board at the bottom, because I had a screen bottom board on that one, it was just covered with mites. And that hive is still living right now with that. I haven't requeened them, but because I'm making all my queens now, but they're still living and they made honey.
Well, hey, that's good.
But I mean, I poured. I mean, week after week after week, it was just complete smokehouse going at them. I remember Charlie telling me, "You better dose them up good."
You had smoked bees.
I took the advice.
Yeah, I think you had 2 of them in there.
Yeah.
Double barrel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a Bob Benninger double barrel.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
so when do you start your winter preps, Brad? Or I know you don't have much of a winter, but
I don't really do too much, like, because I leave them in double deeps, and like right now, all that second box is full of honey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't take it from them. I just leave it. So I just pull my supers above the double deeps, and just leave them everything else. So after I do my treatments, it's pretty much like all year long, because all we get is like 2 weeks of winter,
Mm-hmm.
of freezing weather. So I mean, all I do throughout the winter is just check their weight. And like when I went to Knob, I bought, because like February is the dangerous time of losing their weight or their food. So I bought like them winter patties and stuff, and I'll put those on the weaker hives that don't have as much food, because I will have a bunch of them that will be in singles, especially this year, because I increased some more, and I got a bunch of mating nukes that are 4 and 5 frames, and I ordered a bunch of more hives to put them in there, so they all go into winter as singles. So I'll make sure they put up.
So what do you got up? A couple hundred hives right now?
Probably 120.
That's quite a few hives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, about 30 of them is small colonies.
Yeah. Yeah. That's understandable. You'll get them through the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
for what little bit of winter you have.
Yeah, they don't have to suffer a hard winter.
Yeah. Okay.
So how many?
You should be coming up on requeening time too, shouldn't you?
Yeah, I've been doing that. I've been matter of fact, I got about 25 mating nukes, all around, that I've been pulling queens from, and I just redo them and set them. I just pull the queens out and stick them in some of the other hives.
Swap them around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, so are you doing making your own queens this year?
Oh yeah, I haven't bought a queen or a cell this year.
Have you had a hard time getting them mated?
No. If they come back, they're mated. But if late in August, like right now we don't hardly have any dragonflies, but late in August we'll get a lot of dragonflies, and they'll, they just won't come back because they get killed. But as far as having drones to get them well mated, we have drones all year round.
Well, that's good.
No, that was the other thing I've been noticing with me, with my queen rearing experience for this year, because it's this is my first year, probably in the past 4 years since I've been queen rearing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, some accomplishments that I've made this year is that number one, we went to Bill's queen rearing class, learned how to set up a cell builder correctly. That put me, up on top when it came to that, as far as being able to get my graphs to be accepted and stuff. And then I learned about, how, I kind of tweaked my use of my incubator versus letting them hatch into the cell builder, let the bees take care of them. I don't have to get them in nuke boxes or mating boxes right away, because I've got, that gives me that little bit of more leeway.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing the virgin queen's biological, as far as timeline goes, as far as them being ready to get mated. But the other thing I've noticed is that I had those two, like I was saying here recently, tonight, I had two queens that went out and got mated, and the boxes, even though they were two framers, they were well populated. They were like a miniature hive. They looked like a miniature hive. They had good population. The only thing I could notice was it looked like to me that was a hive that I took a big slab of cat brood with the bees on it, put it in that hive along with another, let's say a nectar, open nectar frame, some pollen and whatever. And they did well. And she came back, made it well, and everything looks good. The other ones I didn't have quite the brood, and I don't know whether I just didn't get it set up right, as far as them staying in the hive. A lot of them left and stuff like that. What are you using for mating? Are you using the mini mating boxes or something different?
No, I had taken them out this year. I ended up not using them because I didn't have no. I was supposed to set them up to get. I usually put them in the hive, the frames on a big frame, and let the hives build out the comb, and maybe let a queen lay something on them, and then I take them and put them in the mini boxes. But I didn't get a chance to do that. And if you don't use those little pheromone strips, they leave. The bees will. I've had that happen to me twice, where they just all leave if you don't have nothing to hold them in that box.
Yeah.
But I've been using my 3 framers and some five frame pro nukes.
Yeah.
I just got them set all over the place.
And then what are you putting in 5 frames of bees into those nukes, and then putting that cell
this is what I did this year, and it was a lot easier because I used my old bees to hold the newer bees in there, because I sell a lot of nukes. So when I sell a nuke, like in my six frame double deeps, I'll pull the nuke out and then put just a single one there with the old bees and whatever frames I got left, and then throw a cell in it. So, those bees are established. Or if I move the whole nuke, all the old bees come back to that spot, and I'll go ahead and stick one of my little 3 framers in that spot and drop a frame of brood with some nurse bees. And that way all those field bees come back to that hive and hold those bees in that nest. Because sometimes if I just take a frame of brood with nurse bees and I go stick it somewhere in an oddball spot in the yard, sometimes they'll leave that brood. But
that's what I'm kind of experiencing, that I can't get those mating boxes popular. I can populate them, but they won't stay there,
Yeah. You have to either I got to put a lot of bees in there, and then still when you go back the next day, there's like 1/8 of the amount of bees that you put in that box. So the best thing you can do is find a frame where you actually see the bees chewing out the brood, so that way in a couple of days they could be in there, and the few bees that stay or just, around here it's hot, so we don't have to worry about them, them chilling.
Yeah.
So if there's a few bees on the frame, that's all they need, and then they hatch out, and those will stay. So
Yeah,
always look for frames where they chewing out dark brood and they chewing out.
Yeah.
If
they chew out in there, they're going to stay in there because they think that's their hive.
Yeah, they gonna stay in there.
Well, see, that's what I was experiencing them 2 hives. I put brood in there and they chewed out and they stayed there because that's home.
Yeah, that's home.
And all that. And it's just
you just gotta watch, like when I put them in and I have a really frame that's really ready to just pop where they all gonna hatch out within a day or so. You gotta hurry up and put them something else or put a cell in there because they won't take them long to go laying worker.
Yep.
There's no more brood in the box in a couple of days when they all hatch out.
Right.
So,
well, I think it sounded like to me you put one of them temp strips in there. That sounded like to me it helps.
It does, and Brad's right about that. 100% right.
That pheromone strip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got they're kind of expensive, but I got some from Man Lake, and I just cut a little bitty, like a quarter of an inch, and I staple it on the top of the little frame. All it takes. You don't have to put the whole strip in there.
No, you don't. Quarter, half, something like that. Just enough to get a little bit of pheromone in there. They'll stay there.
Mm-hmm. And you lock them in. You those little styrofoams. You lock them in. You open the vent on the bottom, and when you lock the door, they have a vent on the top, and you put them in the shade somewhere. Yeah. And put that pheromone strip in there and leave them locked up in there, a couple of days. As long as you put them some sugar water in there, they're going to start drawing that comb with that pheromone strip, and they're going to be locked in there.
Yep.
But my first time I did it, I went through all my hives, collected all kind of nurse bees. I mean, I had a whole bucket full of nurse bees. I went in there and put the cups of bees and put the sugar water and set them all out. Went back a couple of days, there was no bees.
Well, that's what I did this year. I shook off nurse bees out of them Demarys because I know they were nurse bees.
Mm-hmm.
Put them in a pro nuke, and then, like you said, kind of dumped them in there and sprinkled them in each hive, and they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go back where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're nurse bees, and they say supposedly they don't fly. They
leave.
They still know.
They leave. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they're going back to the same hive, but I think they just get attracted by the other hives and the smell and the pheromones coming, and they just spread out all over the apiary. They just go back. They just find new homes. They don't like that little box. They don't like something small that don't have nothing to hold them there. Yeah, I done did that a bunch. And that's a whole day's work, when you're doing a bunch of mating nukes and collecting bees and getting sugar water and all of them. And you go back to put your cells and there's no bees to do your cells.
So the game plan that you're doing are you going to put in a big slab of brood in there with bees, put that pheromone strip in there to kind of hold them. And are you gonna add nurse bees to that?
I usually, like, if they're from the same hive, I'll just shake. I'll do a frame of brood, then I'll do a frame of food, and then I do one empty frame, and I just do one shake of bees. And usually, if they're all from the same hive, and I put that pheromone strip, they locked in. They'll all stay.
Yeah, I see that. All right, Todd. Yeah,
and those strips last a long time. I had bought a pack of them. I forgot what it was.
You can put them in the freezer. I do know that. I had a pack of them, but I never really used them. I guess I really didn't know how to use them in the most efficient way.
Yeah, you really don't have to put them in the freezer, Charlie. If you put them in the refrigerator, they stay fresher longer.
Is that right?
That's where mine right. They're in the refrigerator.
Yep. So what I do, Brad, is I cut one in half,
mm-hmm.
and then I just put it in there. In the mating nukes that I had made, I've got a little spot where I can slide it up. You know, your rabbit joint. I got it left a little space. I can slide it up in there so it takes care of both sides of the mating nuke. So
Now, another thing holds them in there, which I can't do over here, but I did find that it does work. If you have a frame with some open brood and those nurse bees, you put in there and they'll hang with those open brood to feed them and stuff like that.
yeah.
But hive beetles get us down here when we do that with the open brood and stuff like that.
So JT's got a good question for you. Like, can you block them off in the hive in the shade for a day, and then use grass so they'll orientate to that box? I mean, I've seen people do it, but I've never had any luck with that.
No, I never had no luck with it. The only way you get something to stay without any pheromone strips, you just got to put a lot of bees. I mean, overload your box and then just whatever stays, and then you just go from there.
Yeah.
But the key is that hatching brood.
Yeah.
For you to get started off, that hatching brood.
Yep.
Well, I think, and that was one of the things I always did with my two-frame mating boxes, that I would lock them in there, like you said, about 3 or 4 days, and that seemed to work. But like I say, I don't know. This year was, I'm trying to get farming done, and the mill, and the bees, and the setting up boxes, and stuff, and it just kind of things just didn't get took care of like it should have been. Like I got little pint jars for my mating boxes for Pro Suite, and that should have, they had ran out. I should have been looking after them about every 3 days and all that stuff. And it's like everything. Well, like everything when it came to this queen rearing this year. I like a plan, and I like a procedure, I guess you would say. Like, all right, I know the procedure. Like, okay, I'm going to load up find me a queenless nuke, or have a nuke there that, pull the queen out of it or whatever, and put in a bunch of, brood that's going to hatch. So you can get all them nice young nurse bees in there.
Yeah. And
it's going to stay there. They'll stay there. And then put your graft in there and stuff like that, and put your pollen, your pollen frames and your, and all that kind of thing, and feed them. And I kind of got that down. And in doing the Demery thing, I got my, I don't know, it's the flow. I guess it's like, have a box over here to put your frames in that are either empty or capped. And switch a roux around it, and put everything back down, and do all these different things, steps, and it works, it flows. And it's like, okay, the next thing with this queen rearing thing is to be able to get the steps down and know exactly what I want to do in order to maintain a populated 2-frame hive.
Yeah. My easiest hives were, which I'm gonna that's what I'm gonna do with these 10 hives that I ordered 10 boxes with some bottom boards and some hive tops. Because of my Apame hives that I have, they are the easiest to do queen rearing in, for the fact that, over the winter I leave one queen in there, one hive. Come spring, I pull her out with 5 frames and sell her as an overwintered queen. Okay, overwintered nuke. Well, now they're double deeps. They're double deep 7-framer. Them queen rear Apames.
Yeah.
Well, after I pull a nuke out, I still got 9. Well, let's see, there's 7. Yeah, 9 frames left. So I dropped 7 with brood down to the bottom, and that Appamate comes with a divider board.
Mhm.
I put that divider board in, and now I got 2 mating nukes. You don't have to load them with bees. You don't have to do anything. You got your original bees that didn't go with the nuke because you had 14 frames of bees. So you're gonna have your original frames with that came with the nuke. They're not gonna go nowhere. You drop your 2 cells in there, and I make one come out the back and one come out the front. Because what I tried to do them both out the front, they would get mixed up, and I'd only end up with 1 queen out of 2 boxes.
Yep.
So I make one come out the front, one come out the back, and
Well, if you have like, you know how I got my mating nukes on my pictures where they're all side by side like that.
yeah,
I'm wondering, and they're all coming out the front. I'm like, maybe I need to switch each one every other one.
yeah, that's what I do. I make them because I got my 3 framers. If they're close together, I swap them, or I turn them at an angle. But so what I'm going to do with these 10 I got is I'm going to put those nukes in them, and I'm going to make me a divider board just like I have in those Appamates. And then next spring, because I'm going to sell them as overwintered, after I sell them, I'm going to go ahead and put a divider board. Whatever bees I got left in there, I'm going to go ahead and use that as a mating nuke and do that all through the summer. Then at the end of the summer, when I requeen, I'll pull that divider out, leave 1 queen in there, and then that'll be my next nuke for the following year. But if you establish you a section in your yard where you can you don't have to get Appamates. Like I say, just get a 10 frame box and put your divider. And every year when you want to mate, you just, put that divider in there, pull that old queen out, either sell her or whatever, and make you a mating nuke.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year,
something I was just thinking here, like you were saying, putting them on an angle. I got to thinking about Brad Hogg up here in Manitoba. He stacks a couple, 2 or 3, what do you call them? Pallets. Mm-hmm. And then he puts them in a circle on an angle, kind of like a clock. Yeah. And I'm like, I could, that'll give me the height and give me the variation of the angle. And actually it'll kind of make a little easier working them.
Mm-hmm.
And everything. And all that. So
yeah, because I like when I go through my mating nukes, I like to sit down and take my time and look for the queen. And you put something at a comfortable level where you ain't got to be bent over all the time. Or when you're going from little box to little box to little box bent over, you get tired quick.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe
But that's my favorite part of beekeeping is raising queens and selling nukes. Like, see this honey that I'm fixing to take off? Oh, Lord, have mercy. I don't regret it. I would say I'm not anxious for it.
So are you finding a lot of your honey's not capped?
No, they capped it. A lot of it's capped from what I'm seeing now. I'm late getting it off, so anything that was uncapped, they might be eating it right now. So, But everything that I dug into, I went into a couple of hives last week of course, I went into small hives because I'm checking on queens, but everything's capped.
Okay.
So I ain't gonna have to worry too much about moisture or anything like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I lost 2 hives so far to swarming. They swarmed themselves, and something must have happened to where they didn't get the queen back or something. And these were 6 supers, or 6 boxes, not 6 supers, 2 deeps and 4 supers. And I seen a lot of activity. There was some healthy hives, and I seen a lot of activity around this one. I said, that don't look normal. And I went, shook the box, and it was completely empty. There wasn't a drop of honey in that box. And then the second one they were robbing out, I caught it in time. They only robbed the bottom box.
Yep.
I pulled the supers off and put them on some other hives to save the honey. But I went in there and I found open swarm cells and the queen must not have come back, and they swarmed themselves to death, and then the robbers took over.
So JT wants to know how long you leave your queen strips in for, and when do you take them out?
Wait, say that again. How long?
How long do you leave your queen strips in for, and when do you take them out?
Oh, I just leave them in there because once you use them, I mean, they know we're good for next year. So I just leave them for the whole season that I'm doing it. You talk about the pheromone strips, right?
Yeah, the pheromone strips. Yes.
Yeah, they once you take them out of the refrigerator and cut them, whatnot, they may still be good, but I've never reused them.
No, I mean, typically they're good for about 10 to 15 days, and that's it.
Oh, I just staple them on there, and once the bees stay, I don't really pay no attention to it. So
yeah.
And when I clean up the frames the following year, I just redo a new one.
Redo a new one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
But what I wanted to do was, like I said, I didn't get a chance to do it because I've been busy doing some other stuff. Taking those little frames, putting them on a big frame, putting them in a hive, getting the queen to lay some brood on them, and when they start to hatch out, take them out and put them in the mini mating nukes. It'd be the same thing as, because I've done that before. Because instead of putting a piece of foundation, I just put starter strips, and I screwed them onto the top board of a big frame. Put them in the center of a hive, a big hive that was, making drawn out comb and stuff. And they drew, matter of fact, they drew them past. I had to cut. And she laid in all the frames, and I had hatching brood to put in all my little mating nukes. And that year worked out great. So, but I didn't get a chance to do that this year. So,
yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. That in order to really anchor them bees there, having emerging brood, maybe some open brood in there a little bit.
Yep.
You might have to go back and cut some queen cells, but if you throw a virgin in there, and then, like you say, put it in let's say a round pattern of on angles, so they all come back to the right hive. Hopefully, I think that's the information I'm looking for here tonight, is a little more finite what your goals are as far as what you want to put in that little hive.
Yeah.
And once you get established with them bees in there, once you get, it's kind of like growing a big hive. Once you get it established and bees are coming in and there's open and everybody's happy, oh, this is our hive, and then you can always pull a frame out and put an empty in so they can keep laying. And if it's or you put a new queen in, hey, Nancy, and that kind of stuff. I think that's what I need to do then.
Yeah, I mean, like Brad, he's developed his own system for rearing queens. We've got ours. Everybody will develop their own regimens or own practices for queen rearing and what works for them, right? And when you go to these queen rearing classes, like Charlie did this year, he's been doing it for a few years, but he did pick up a couple of nuggets.
Well, the biggest thing for me was I went down there to Kent Williams down there in Knoxville, Tennessee, back in 2019. All right, I got the gist of the grafting part of it. Now, he tried to tell us how to judge the age of the larvae, which wasn't very good. And then I developed my own plan, and I tell people, I says, you're not looking for eggs, you're looking for jelly. And then you look in the jelly. If you can't see anything, that's where you want to graft. If you see maybe a speck in there, I mean, barely a speck, that's good too. And I said, but if you can see clearly a larvae laying in there, it's too big, too old. And that's about the best information I can give people to kind of get them, kind of guide them in. Now, Darren, I watched this video in there, and he was talking about, he was setting up a cell builder in the video. And he says, here's the nuke. he said, I thought this was good enough, but like me, it's like, no, that population isn't good enough, and then he put in emerging brood in and nurse bees, and then went around and collected more nurse bees and more brood and got it into that box to where, it was boiling over with bees. And you have to understand that part of it. And then, like with my video where I did the maintenance thing, where every three, we found out through that every 3 weeks, your nurse bees are turning more into the forager thing. They're not young enough to generate that jelly, so you need to re-maintenance that hive to keep it up and running and keep young bees in there, and and that kind of thing. And because they're dying off too, along with getting too old.
Do you
And
ever do you ever find that when you're doing your colony there for queen rearing, that once those bees get a little older and they start standing on the front porch, that you find a queen in there?
I've had that in the past.
Yeah,
And
I've
find
seen that happen.
I find when them virgins go out to get mated and stuff, them bees call that virgin
well,
in.
she can. I say they can. She can smell them. She can
Yeah.
smell it. She can smell it. That's a queenless hive, and
Yes.
that's like Ryan Williamson, the queen rearer guy that I had on. He cuts a plastic. I think it's a plastic queen excluder or a steel one, and
Mhm.
puts a queen excluder at the entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'll get 2, maybe 3 rounds good without a queen, but when after about that second or third round, all my cells will be chewed out and I'll find a queen in there, and I'm not like, where did you come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Because
But
as soon as mine are capped, I put them in cages just to keep that from happening. Like one hatching out early, I use
yep.
my cages, my roll cages and stuff and so it's got to be an outside version that comes in there.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Because the frames that I have in there are way too old for them to have produced anything. Because I always, when I set up my builder, I'll set it up and go back 5-6 days later and knock everything down. And then even when I put my graphs in there, I'll even check again, because most of what I put in there, like I said, is just hatching brood out. I don't put nothing really young in there. But after that third round, you get a queen in there. She came from some other hive.
To answer your question, Norman, yes, they can be. It takes them a while to get fat enough not to be able to go through an excluder. So I know for sure virgins can get through it. So
Especially if they're little small queens.
yeah, little eeny teeny tiny
You
July
get those
queens.
little runts.
Yeah,
And on another subject, well, still queen rearing, I saw a video last year that helped me out too, because a lot of times I was walk away splits, where I got, I try to split a hive, and if it's early in the year, I ain't got no cells ready or nothing like that. If I make a walk away split, I always go back 2 days later. Now, from what I saw from the video, knock down all the cell 2 or 3 days, knock down all those cells they first started, and you'll see them starting to make the second round of cells. Well, that's the ones that were eggs or very young larvae. All the ones they started first, those are old larvas. And you knock all those down and you get a better queen. You'll get a bigger cell from knocking out those first ones that they make.
Yep.
Because if they cap a cell in 3 days, that larva was not big enough, was not young enough. And you can go in there after 3 or 4 days and they'll have some emergency capped cells because they used older larva. Because it's going to be capped on a 6-day-old larva regardless. When that larva is 6 days old, they're going to cap it.
yep.
So they don't just cap on day 6; they cap a 6-day-old larva. So if you can go in there and destroy all those ones they first did, you get a nice queen.
Yeah.
And they say the young bees get the process of making raw jelly up and going, and they actually feed the second round of their cells even more. So that's just a good way to get a good queen on a walkaway split.
Yeah, exactly. So Charlie
Yeah.
and I are on basically the same page when it comes to winter prep and fall treatments. And we all heard what Brad did or what he does. So, is there anybody else out there that has a different method or a different plan for the fall and winter? So, if you do, come on in here and talk to us about it.
What do y'all do as far as like honey? Do y'all take off all y'all honey to sell, or do you leave honey and
I don't leave it. I pull everything I can get off.
or you pull it and then you
And
just
then I turn right around and I'll throw the sugar to them.
Yeah.
You see, I would do that if I could sell everything I pull, but I can't. There's so much honey around here. It's hard
Yeah.
to sell everything. So
You got a glutton of honey producers in your area.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or me,
So-
I mean, there's beekeepers in my area per se,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't produce a tremendous amount. Now, something that I guess for me, I've got maybe an advantage. I've got a business. I'm on a corner of a main highway. And I don't know. They all like my honey. They all think it's the greatest.
Yeah.
I had a guy come in after 6 o'clock. He texted me. He said, I'm out of honey. I need it. And like he's going to die tomorrow if you don't have them. I said, well, stop on by. I'll take your money. And, you know, so he dropped $25 on me and they'll keep the change. I said, fine. So,
I have a couple of them texting me too because I'm usually, like I said, I usually have my honey pulled, and you got your honey.
I got my cell number on every bottle I put out. I said, I tell them, I said, if you're on the weekend or whatever, and I happen to be here, you can call me or text me, and I'll let you know. And you stop by. I don't care what it is.
How many pounds you got this year?
Well, I'm down, but I got 841 pounds, 42 pounds,
Okay.
something like that. I'm about 160 pounds light from last year.
I seen Bruce's bees got a little bit of honey.
Yeah, he got a little bit.
What's that?
Bruce's
bees got a little bit of.
He got a little bit of honey. That's a lucky fella get all that help.
He's a Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
All this is so much fun. You ought to come down and help me out.
Yeah, exactly.
They look like they're dragging when they leaving though.
Oh, I bet they are.
That's a
That's
lot
a lot
of
of honey to pull.
because that's a lot of hives he's got.
Yeah.
He pulled 11,000 pounds of honey.
That's a lot of honey.
You know,
That's a
for
lot
a
of
sideliner.
Yeah. So what we do, Brad, is we pull it all off, and like whatever isn't capped, or isn't fully filled out, or just in general, a half of a hive of honey, we'll put it back on
Mm-hmm.
and let they keep it then. And then we'll take an inner cover and put on the hive, and then we'll put an extracted super on top and let them clean it up,
Mm-hmm.
and repair the wax, pull it off and put another one on. We're letting them do the work in the fall.
Yeah.
And then that way we just store them over the winter. That way when we put them on the spring, they don't have to draw a lot of wax to repair them or clean them up. It's already done. They can just start filling them in the spring.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So typically there is a somewhat of a fall flow here with the goldenrod and horse nettle and stuff like that, and thistle. We do get a little bit of a flow, but we feed them too, and they do pack some of that away.
I did notice that like, when I harvest honey and I let them, rob out the wet supers, they kind of tear up your comb. when you just let them rob.
Yeah, when you let them rob, they will tear that comb apart to get to it. They're not
Because
they're not easy on it.
I'll put cardboard on the boxes, and I'll sweep up a whole bunch of wax that they
Oh
ripped
yeah.
out of there.
Oh yeah. But it seems to work for us when we do that. Um, of course, all our supers have an identification type number or a mark or something on them, so we know what hive they came off of,
Mm-hmm.
and we put them back on the same hive. So that way, they're used to that super. They're not going to be hesitant to go into it.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then, of course, we go right into feeding, and we feed Pro Sweet or fruit.
You feed right after you pull off your
Well, I'll do my summer treatment, which is going to be Apiguard, and then after we pull the Apiguard and we do a mite wash, if we're good on the mites, then I start feeding.
Okay.
Typically, I'm feeding by the 15th of August.
You can do Apiguard right now?
Yeah. Yep. Because right now it's 73 degrees outside. It only got up to 84 today, but the humidity was high.
Yeah.
So if I was going to put Apiguard on, I'd be down there right now doing it.
No, we've been in the 90s, the mid 90s, and next month's gonna be even our hottest month, August. We'll hit some hundreds.
Yeah.
Not till September do we get back into the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right now it's like 72 degrees.
Yeah. So, and that, go ahead, Charlie.
But that's, now it's not, today was 84, 88, 87 Wednesday, 89.
What is the threshold? 90 degrees and below?
Well,
the upper threshold on Apiguard is 104.
Oh, really? That high?
Yeah, that's what's in the directions.
I'm thinking about because I saw Hilco's video today about Formic Pro. He said from 90 you can treat up to 90.
No, 85.
Oh, he said 90 for the high and 50 for the low.
No,
it's 85 for the high, which is in the EPA directions. So he's giving you bad information on that one. And 50 is the low in the EPA directions. But the trick to using Formic Pro is you don't want it real hot and you want a low humidity.
See, I wouldn't even try that over here.
Yeah. You can't even do anything like that until in the fall, late fall.
Because we still have a lot of humidity in September. Hell, that's when we get a lot of hurricanes in August and September.
Yep. Now here, I'll do Formic Pro towards the end of September or first part of October because it's lower temperatures and a lot lower humidity. And then I'm done until December. So, and then in December, it's OA twice in December, twice in January. And depends upon what, how I think those 2 months went. They'll either get 1 or 2 treatments in February. And then this year, I did use OA at the end of March because it was still cold. And you could look down in the hives and take a flashlight and look at it, and they weren't brooding up real bad yet. So I hit them again in the end of March with OA. And I think that helped me through the spring because I didn't have to do a formic treatment in the spring. So I've made it from the end of March until now.
I think that like I do it through the winter time. Of course, I have winter compared to Brad, and you do too. But like you just said there in March and whatever, you got that low mite count to begin with.
Yeah.
That you're going through the winter. Instead of using Viroxan, which is expensive, you're hitting them with that OA in the very early stages of spring, and you're still suppressing that low mite load until honey season hits.
Exactly. And
I was
then,
just looking at the weather temperatures for um, this month, and I don't know. It says monthly. It's like daytime highs are 88, 87, 89 on, you know, basically mid 80s across the board. Pretty much mid 80s the following week. And then you get into August, it's definitely in the mid 80s or low to mid 80s.
yep.
And I'm wondering whether to, um, yeah, like I say, this past weekend it was like, okay, let's kind of catch up with maintenance, I guess you would say, where
Hmm.
I got everybody looked over, made sure everybody is pretty much queen right, got my nuke or my mating boxes. I just threw them in the back of the truck and hauled everything back to the storage room, put everything back away. I actually, there was, it was amazing. I took that nuke that had a queen in there, and here's a pile of bees right there where that nuke was. I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to put a catch box there. And I happened to have another. I had left just one box over there, and I had it upside down, and the darn bees went up inside that box, and I'm like, and I'm gonna throw this in the truck, and I look down, and here's like a half a pound of bees in there. And I'm like, all right, we'll go over here and we'll throw them with that where they come from with that other queen.
Yep.
And but now, I kind of got that out of the way, and I got some queen. I got one nuclear needs a queen. I'm gonna put up as soon as these ones get hatched, and I'm like, okay. And then it's kind of like, okay, now I can kind of focus on Apricot and kind of figure like the ones that are just getting started. They had like brood break, I'll call it. You might say with no queen in there. I'm like, I don't think I would say to skip them for now with Apricot. Maybe in September, hit them with formic
Hmm.
and all that stuff.
So you're gonna do both Apricot and formic?
Well, my plant, my used to be what my treatment program was. I did Apricot while it was hot, and then usually by the time I would start late July, go through August with Apricot. I was last year. I ended up at the end of August with the strips, 6 weeks, and then the next Monday happened to be Labor Day, which is September. And then usually right around that time we will get a week that has low humidity, 80 degrees or less. Feel with maybe a nice kind of a spring breeze to it, you might say, compared to what we've been used to. And I'll put the double strips in, and come back in a couple weeks and take them out, and then after that it's probably about the 15th of September, and I start feeding. And then I usually wind up done feeding by around the middle of October.
What's your average, like how many rounds of food you got to put to fill up a hive? Don't
About,
you use the gallon buckets?
no, I use top high feeders, and I use a 40-gallon tank with a pump on it.
Oh, okay.
I use in-frame feeder.
And I'll probably make 200 gallons.
How many gallons you think per hive you got to use every winter to get them full? I mean, if you pull all the honey off, like, is it like 4 or 5
I usually
gallons?
fill. It's a man lake feeder, which has got 2 troughs, and you can put about 4 gallons in there.
Yeah.
I normally hit, because I want to stretch everything out as far as the gallons go.
Mm-hmm.
I normally hit them. I usually put fill one side of it up. So that's 2 gallons. So you figure when you hit them the first time, they'll suck that 2 gallons down in about 8 to 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll come right behind them again and hit them again. So I'll probably put 10 gallons on a hive, something like that. I'm mixing. I mean, I'm making 40-gallon batches. What I normally like to do is I make a 40-gallon batch. Of course, I'm heating it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I let it cool down, and then I fill my tank, and then I make another 40-gallon batch. Then I go out there and I hit them with 40 gallons and fill them all up. And then I go right back to the house, and then I fill that tank up again, ready to go for the next day. By the next day, I'm ready to throw another 40 gallons into them. But as time progresses, they slow down because they're packing it away
Mm-hmm.
and all that.
Yeah.
I'm about between 12 and 15 gallons per hive for the fall season, beating for the entire season.
I guess that's the only good thing about me leaving my honey on there. I mean, I say I'm losing money, but I probably couldn't sell it. But I don't have to. Like all my double deeps. I don't even have to touch them. I don't feed them or nothing. The only ones I feed is my singles.
I look at it this way: you're saving money in a way, and you're saving labor.
You are
saving money. You're saving labor, big time labor.
Yep.
And I mean, I'll be, somebody, well, I haven't seen you, or on late at. I said, well, I'm mixing sugar with her till 8, 9 o'clock at night, in the dark or whatever, or actually down in my basement, and I got the lights and stuff on, and and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'll drop $800 in sugar. I'll go up to the restaurant store and buy a pallet, Or
and see, that's another thing too. We don't have anywhere around here where we could buy any kind of syrup or cheap sugar. When I do buy, I gotta buy it from Sam's or Walmart.
Domino has a sugar distribution point down there in Louisiana, and I'll find out the name of the town that it's in for you. But they sell it wholesale by the tote.
Syrup or sugar?
Sugar.
Sugar.
It's sweeps is what they call it. Just sweeping it up off the floor.
Oh, okay.
It sweeps. So it's fairly cheap. Will and I checked into it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because around here we just rely on the price at Sam's or Walmart. It kind of came down.
I wasn't willing to drive all the way to Louisiana to pick it up.
Yeah.
But like I go to the restaurant store and you have to have a membership, and a friend of mine is a member. And is it cheaper? Not really. But what's I like about it is convenient. It's on a pallet. It's 50-pound bags. I say, all right, I go through the computer and I order it. I want, it may be like me and a neighbor up here. We might get 35 bags or something like that out of a pallet. And he mixes his, I mix mine, and I've got the machinery to lift it up off my pickup truck. And instead of me going into like you say, Costco, put it on a cart, then take it out and put it on the truck. It's like, I sit there, take my tailgate off so they don't bend it, take the tongue out. All right, put it in the truck, and I said, now easily you put it in the truck. This one goofy went boom. I'm like, come on, man.
You should see sometimes I go in Walmart and when I'm like late in the fall, I'm feeding my little nukes, my overwinter ones and stuff. I fill up a buggy with, they have 25-pound bags at our Walmart. I'll fill up a buggy full, and it never fails. Somebody always asks me, "What are you doing with all that sugar?" I'm like, making cookies.
You know what? You know what I tell them when they ask me what I'm buying all that sugar for? I'm mashing in. That's exactly what I tell them.
Well, I told one lady, I said, I'm making cookies. She says, you must like cookies. I said, I sure do. Look at me.
Yeah, they ask a lot of questions, especially around here. If you buy a lot of sugar at one time,
they think you're making alcohol.
They'll ask that question. What are you making?
Uh-huh.
Then when you tell them it's for the bees, they kind of look at you real funny and don't say anymore.
I never tell them it's for the bees because they'll gossip so much around here. If you tell them you're feeding your bees sugar, they're like, "Oh, so that's what your honey's made out of."
Uh,
Because
yeah.
then you got to start explaining the whole story about how bees make honey and all.
Yeah.
So I just say I'm making cookies.
So I know you don't have much of a winter down there, so you can basically feed liquid year round.
Yeah,
Yeah. See, we
yeah.
can't feed liquid up here year round. It's when it gets cold and they start clustering up, then we got to start feeding fondant. I don't know, Charlie. You feed fondant, or do you go straight to pollen patties?
I don't do any if there's a no, I don't do fondant. I like I'll just make up my own sugar. I tried fondant. It was so messy and so sticky and everything like that. Now, Clay, you say you're cheap, 4 bags at $2.65. And if you sit there and figure out about 50-pound bags, you're paying about 63 or 64 cents a pound. And
And he buys 50 of them at a time.
you know, and it's like it's too much work for me.
That's a lot of money, Clay. That's more. That's twice what a 50-pound bag would cost you.
Used to be we could when I first started beekeeping, I only had 1 or 2 hives. You could buy the 4 pound bag at Walmart for $1.98.
Yep, you could.
Yeah, so it costs you basically 50 cents a pound.
Yeah,
And I think right now it's up to 78 or 81 cents a pound at Walmart.
yeah,
About right.
Hmm.
yep.
Last time I looked at restaurant store, it was about 60 some cents a pound.
And then it's gone down from 2 years ago. 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, it almost hit 90. It was like 88.
Clay says it cost him 80 cents a pound.
That's high.
If he buys a big bag. That's still expensive.
Yep.
So when do you go to your pollen patties, Charlie?
In February, I did it last year.
Yeah.
I'm looking up the here we go.
I really like those. I tried them for the first time last year. Them winter patties there. From I got them at the expo. I forgot the name. I forgot the name of that winter patty.
That's it from Date Ant.
Yeah, yeah. I
Mm.
forgot the name of it though. It's the bees liked it. They ate it up pretty good. I don't usually use that, but I bought a box for the little small hives.
I'm not sure whether the pollen patties. Well, if I buy, it's $31.49 up to 10 bags, but I'm gonna do better than 10 bags. $30.87. Let's just say $31.
For a bag of sugar?
50-pound bag, but divided by 31. Shucks. 31 divided by 50, I guess.
Yeah.
62 cents.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'd have divided it the other way. You'd have been $1 something.
Yeah, you would have been.
You figure 30.87.
Uh,
61.7. You might as well say 62 cents. But hey, Alicia.
yeah, I'm doing the Apis Apis bonnet patties until spring, and then I hit them with 2 rounds of pollen patties to get the queen started, and then I go back to the Apis and the bee bites.
Now, Brett, he's at 64 cents.
Yeah. Yeah. So where you're getting it, Charlie, it's
I like the convenience of being on a pallet. They put
Yeah.
it on my truck.
yeah.
I take my forklift, pick it up off my truck, and I'm done. I don't have to do any
Yep.
lifting.
See, that's
Exactly.
key right there. If they put it on your truck, that's half the battle right there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when
Because-
I pick it up with my forklift, I bring it over here to my drum, that I have water in it and it's getting heated. I
Mhm.
slide that bag over. I don't lift it. I take my razor blade knife, slit it, and just let it waterfall pour into that drum, and it's got a mixer in there and all that.
Mhm.
I don't even lift the bags. I just kind of lug or kind of slide them across the darn pallet.
Yeah.
Works out good for me.
Yep.
Most people don't have forklifts, so
No.
I'm fixing to get me some pallet forks for my front end loader. They make those ones that just clamp onto the front end.
Yep. That's what I use.
Oh, really? They work good?
They work great. On that quick change bucket, they work really good.
Yeah.
well, what kind of tractor you got, Brad?
I'm a Hendra.
Do you have a skid steer where they clamps on with the 2 arms and pins?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't get the one for the bucket. I would get myself a set of pallet forks where you just go over there, hook onto it, and pull the pins down, and it's latched.
Well, I was looking at price though for what I'd be using.
Well, something.
Be using it for.
There's a let me look it up.
Do you have the quick attach on your tractor?
Yeah. Yeah.
The quick attach pallet forks are actually cheaper
Well,
in the long run.
Well, yeah, maybe in the long run, but I was looking at some over here at the Mahindra place. They were like $1,000, and you can get the quick attachments for like 150.
If you get the quick attach forks, you can, and it's set up like mine is. Mine's compatible with John Deere, New Holland, Bobcat, and Kubota. I bought a set of generic forks.
Yeah.
With the quick attach on it. So it's compatible with 4 different models of tractors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, by my bucket, it's just got 2 arms that you pull up.
Yep. That's what mine has. And you just reach back there and go click, click, and it's on.
Oh, come on. There's a guy down in close to where Bill is on the other side of the mountain.
Clay?
No, Skyline Acres.
Oh yeah.
And he bought this stuff, and it's it's cheap.
So what's the lifting capacity of your loader?
Oh, I'd have to look at it, but it's more than what I need. I forgot what it is. I'd have to look at it. It's a 28 horsepower.
It's
Tractor?
probably about 3,000 pounds. Just make sure you put a lot of weight on the back of it.
I've always got something on the back, either my tiller or my bush hog or something.
Yeah.
Something always stays connected.
Yeah. So
Go to Amazon.
yep, I'm looking at Titan forks right now.
Well, here's one here. It's a Yamamotor, Yitamotor, and there's pallet forks, 48-inch with a 48-inch forklift blades, 36-inch, $735.
Yep. If you go to Oedro, Oedro, they've got that exact same quick attach fork on sale for $389.99. 2,000-pound fork.
Where is it at?
It's
Amazon.
oedro.com. And they've got that set of forks on sale. Same forks that Charlie was just talking about for $389.99.
That's a big price difference.
Yeah, the guy that this farmer guy he's a backyard farmer. He bought a bale spear for like $300, and everybody else wanted $1,000.
Yeah.
So I mean, they make these forks. What I'm getting at is utilize that quick attach, that their skid steer quick attach or whatever they call that thing. If you got that on your tractor, then that's definitely what you want to use. Go over there. Them other things, you can put them on a bucket like that and you can lock them down, but they'll sit there and move like this.
Oh.
On all that stuff.
The link is in the chat for you, Brad. The link's in the chat for you, Brad.
All right. Thank you.
It takes up two chat boxes.
That's pretty light looking.
It is, but it's 2,000-pound fork. And it's a 46-inch fork too. Only weighs 150 pounds.
I don't know, Brad. Just go ahead and look at Amazon. There's a whole bunch of them across there.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them on Amazon. If you search forks for Mahindra tractor, there's all kinds of forks that come up. But if you do the quick attach, they're typically cheaper.
Well,
if you do the bucket,
there's so much.
If you do the ones for the bucket, you're going to bend your bucket.
Okay.
How many horsepower is that tractor?
28.
28, so it's small. I don't think you're going to lift 2,000 pounds with that little tractor.
No.
You might lift 500 to 1,000.
Yeah.
I actually think it was rated for 1,200, but I'd have to look at the paperwork again.
Yeah, but you know the way they rate that, it depends on whether it's right at the edge of the bucket, you know, where the frame is, and if you got load sticking out there, just take that 1200 and cut it in half
Yeah.
and all that. So yeah, I would look on Amazon. I mean, didn't think of, I didn't think something like that existed, but it does. So, but anyway, like I said, I got everything kind of organized right now and kind of caught up on my backlog of work.
That's a good thing.
So in the bee yard goes, so I don't have to be like thinking, well, I got to get this done, I got to get that done,
Yeah.
and all that. But I don't know.
You used your did you make a video of you pulling honey, Charlie?
No, I didn't. I just
Did
it
you
was,
use your lifter?
no. I got there's a guy right up the road from me, Scott, and he doesn't have an extractor. So I said, look, Scott, if you'll put the supers on my truck for me. I was doing a
I'll lend you my extractor if you lend me your back.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, you know, I'm learning what Bruce was trying to do there. You know,
You look at Bruce. He's videoing his shirt's dry. Everybody videos is soaking wet.
so it's really helps me a lot. It's not so much lifting the supers off. Well, it is. I mean, I do the blowing and put the fume board on and all that stuff. Robbing was terrible this year, and put it on the truck, and we basically pull three loads, and I only have so much room in the honey house, which is the back porch, so I can get a certain amount in there, and that's it.
Yeah.
And on my back porch, you have to go upstairs, and there's a landing area brick with a handrail, and then you go into the house. Well, I back up my truck. He stands on the truck tailgate. He We put the super up on the handrail. I'll blow it again to try to get the freaking bees out of there because it was pretty bad. Still wound up with about 20 or 30,000 bees inside the house. Go in, put it on. I take that super and then put it on a box I made for a candy board box, so it catches any drippings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have two or three at least three stacks, let's say, of supers in there, maybe 25 supers at a clip, maybe, and 20 to let's say 20 supers, and 3, 6, or 18, yeah, about 20 supers. Well, I think is what we did the first time around. So getting that, instead of me walking up that staircase, him handing it over to me over the rail and blowing it out, and all I do is walk right into the house, plop it down, and I'm done. That's a huge help for me. And then here lately, since about a month and a half ago, I helped unload some hay, and I've got a disc issue in my back, and it aggravated the snot out of it. And I'm just now starting to get less taking ibuprofen,
Yeah.
and I can sleep better at night without any medication, and things are healing. And in the meantime, we bought that bale bearing that bundleizer, which I was out here on these fields right here where if I missed a bale, throwing it into a kicker wagon, I'm out there picking the bale up and trying to get it, roll it up over my head, top of my head. Well, that just kills that. My disc is in the upper thoracic area of my back, which that just pinches it and aggravates it and whatever. So now we got this new machine, which I've told my son, I said, I can't do that no more. I'm done when it comes to unloading wagons. And I said, that's why, of course, we had been looking at buying one of these bundleizers for the last 3 or 4 years. So we took the plunge, we bought it, or he bought it. And so hopefully I don't have to do any of that stuff anymore. And that kind of stuff. And everything will be completely mechanized with hydraulics. So yeah, when it comes to, I went out there like 4th of July when he was going away for his family, and I think I maybe pulled 12 boxes. Well, that was the wrong thing to do, man. My back let me know it. And then another thing this year is like I finally the brain kicked in and said, hey, instead of making 55-pound buckets of honey, you need to be making 40-pound buckets of honey. And doubling, I can get plenty of honey buckets from my sister. She's got a snowball stand. So I had plenty of it. And the last round that I had, I was averaging 40, sometimes 45 pounds, but at least 10 to 15 pounds lighter, which really actually I've kind of measured it out. I figured out if I fill it up about 9 inches deep, that puts me right at 40, 42, something like that in there. And I can pick it up easily and cradle it. And when I put it into my bottling tank, I pour it through a strainer. So it's light enough to where I can actually manage it a whole lot better.
Yeah.
And
I never fill my buckets up all the way. When they come close to that screen, I stop.
well, mine comes up to the bottom of the screen and it hits right at 55 pounds. What's
Yeah.
Norman say here? Cretin. What's that?
Creatine,
Creatine.
creatine,
What's that?
Yeah.
some kind of protein, I think, for your
And
bones.
it's a muscle recovery protein. It's hard on your kidneys.
I tell you what makes a difference because I got 8 frames and I got 10 frame supers, two different, and them 8 frames are a whole lot easier to handle than them 10 frames.
Yeah, they are.
2 frames make a lot of difference when you
Yeah,
grab
they
them.
do.
I was talking to somebody, maybe it was on here, one of these shows. We were talking about, I do know, like my nukes made 15 frames. They drawed the wax out and they filled it with honey and they capped it completely.
Hmm.
And of course, it was 5 frames, so they were tight, like a 10 frames honey super. And the wax, they drawed it out. I'll say maybe at the top a little thick, but not down at the bottom where it tapered down. It wasn't much more than what that bottom edge was. I can see that if you do 9 frames, it does kind of draw it out to where it's almost even all the way down that frame. But then somebody made mention if you would, it isn't real thick or fat frames like for like I say, an automatic uncapping machine.
Hmm.
And I was wondering if you did 8 frames in a 10 frame box, would that really draw? Would the bees draw those frames really out like a half
They
inch?
on a heavy flow, they do. They will be really, really fat. If you catch them when the comb is still all open, and you pull, because that's what I'll do sometimes. I'll just pull 1 or 2 frames out when the flow gets heavy, and I'll go ahead and like start another box. So I'll bring those 2 that they start and put them in a box with some like foundation for them to draw, and I'll just spread out 8 frames, and they will draw it fat. And I like that because I cut mine with a knife and I keep all my wax to re-wax my frames next year. So it gives you a lot more wax to cut and everything else. So yeah, and it's so much easier to do it since I do it with a knife, to do a fat frame and having to do that little clipper when your frames are not, because you got to
Yeah.
pass that knife on that wood. And I don't like using that little, I don't know, that little scraper or whatnot.
Yeah.
So I,
That's
I So if I'm gonna pull them, I pull all the fat frames. I make sure that I don't pull a box that has 10 frames in it. I'll give it to the bees. I'll just leave it on the hive.
Well, Norman, I'll tell you one thing. I ain't gonna lift no damn deep box full of honey. I can tell you that right now. No way.
Nope.
They might say it doesn't weigh 100 pounds, but it sure does feel like it to me.
Yep.
But did you see Mike Berry's video, his new extraction line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but did you know, he's using a serrated knife.
Yep.
And he's complaining about that, you know, that he had that there
Wax.
strainer there with all that wax in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept looking at that and looking at that. And I'm like, well, if you would buy a Maxan hand plane like I've got, or a knockoff, whatever. Because when I pull that thing across, I pull it across the frame instead of up the frame like they show in some of the videos. I pull it, it takes about 4 swipes, and then you get your medium frame done. It will cut, if it's good and hot, it will cut a solid sheet of wax about the thickness of a paper towel.
Yep.
And you pull it off like that and flop it over there. I don't, you know, I can go through several, I got 18 frame extractor. So I can go through at least 2 or maybe 3 loads before I really need to go and clean that bucket strainer out.
Yeah, even
But I don't have all that. You know, that knife is like a saw.
Yeah, he's chopping it, he's chewing it.
He's chewing it. Well, a saw blade, I tell people, you know, saw blades don't cut. And they look at me, I says, saw blades remove material. A pair of scissors cuts.
Yeah.
You cut a piece of paper with a pair of scissors, put it back together. It's within less than a 16th of being any shorter or any size or any size. There's no size change. Where if you cut a board, it takes 1/8 of an inch out, or it takes 3/16 of material away, and your board is 3/16 shorter. And his saw blade, and that knife is like a saw blade. It's chewing, it's making wax sawdust is what it's making. And all that.
I've learned with my hot knife, if I just start from the top, when I'm going down it just rolls, makes a roll of wax going down. And I don't get a lot of wax in my my frame, my honey in my strainer. I mean, I do a lot of honey before I actually have to swap strainers and, you know, clean it out or whatnot.
I've never really. I bought a guy out. He had a power extractor, and he had 2 hot knives. One was heat regulated, and one was that. And then he said, "I like this or a Maxan hand plane." I got to using that plane. And what was nice about it, I'd have a wax frame that had a divot in there. And I can go, if I go across the frame at short distance, I can go, if it goes and it kind of goes up like that, I can go with the curvature of the frame. I don't use, like this year, I never even got the scratcher out. You know, I think another thing is that I went to 9 frames the last couple of years, and the bees kept drawing it out slowly, and they bring it out, and it's pretty much straight and even, and all that.
Yeah, if you can get it drawn out past that wood, that because mine won't work like yours. If mine's sunk in the comb, that knife, you know,
you can't get it.
You can't get it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I like these folks with these automatic uncapping machines that I watched them. And it's like, okay, you got the machine running, and most, I'll say, what, 90% maybe gets uncut, you know, and there's a lot of wax coming out of that machine going into that tub down in the bottom.
Yeah, you got to have one of those wax separators.
Well, that's the thing. Everything, you know, you start, if I have this, I says, yes. If you start out with an automatic uncapping machine over here, then you got to have this and this, and this on down the line in order to make it, to get rid of the bottleneck, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And now what Mike had down there with the clarifier and the pump and the way he was filling his stuff up, he was overcoming his problems with all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't have a honey house. When you get into all that kind of stuff, you got to have a dedicated building or room for that kind of stuff. You don't want to be tearing down and putting it away and all that stuff. It needs to be bolted down and everything's rocking and rolling.
Yep.
I know via honeybees with disregard, they've got all that stuff and they do it in their 2-car garage, I believe is where it's at. And they put it all, but I mean, whatever you used to,
Next week, I'm gonna have to pull out my boat to set up my honey house. Got to pull the boat out the way and set up the equipment.
Yeah, but for me, I have to have stuff portable. I got to be able to come in, do my thing, and get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, I got to be able to pick it up, clean it up, put it away, and I'm done. And it works for me. Like everything else, it depends on what your setup is, how big you are.
Well, I think Mike is he's growing now because he's getting more hives. So I think he's going to plan on doing more honey. So I think that's why he was.
Who's that?
Mike Berry.
Oh, okay. He's doing 3,000 pounds. He told on the video. That's what
he had, 3,000.
That's what he does a year.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying though, he's growing even bigger because he now got another yard with 10 or 20 hives. I forgot what he had.
Oh yeah.
Did you see that where he set up he bought all those packages?
Yeah.
Yeah. He set up another yard. He bought I forgot what it is, if it's 10 or 20 hives, but he he bought some double hive pallets and he bought a package for each pallet. And then he's going to split that in the fall and make, to fill up the second spot on the pallet.
I think he still has a day job, doesn't he, or a part-time job?
No, he just retired.
He retired.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he said in the video. He retired now.
Yeah, because he retired out of the Navy, 25 years out of the Navy, I guess, at least 25 years. And he must have got another job and retired from that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like you, Brad. I mean, I know you're retired, but I have a hard time trying to keep up with 26 hives. And I don't know how you guys do it at 126 hives,
Well, that's, like I said, that's the main reason though I don't do a lot of feeding. That way in the wintertime and the fall and all that, they pretty much take care of themselves.
Yeah, but I'm looking at queens in requeening 126 hives, and I'm looking at pulling honey supers off 126 hives. To me, I'm looking at, hey, I need a truck with a flatbed with a darn easy lifter on it.
Yeah, but I don't pull all that at one time. I'll go.
Well, I don't care, but I mean, you're pulling it.
Yeah.
And I'd have to have, in your situation, I would think you would be up to a honey house, dedicated honey, some kind of a honey house,
mm-hmm.
and all that stuff.
No, not.
It's like Bruce down there. I told him a year ago or more, and he got that used what do you call it? Uncapping machine from cow. It was a used cowing, and I'm like, Bruce, I know you tell me how much honey you're producing, and I'm like, you're making enough money to buy a small uncapping line, where it's like a Cowan, or if it's American made, or one of these other ones that's out there that, of course, what they show, it's like, that's the first piece of the puzzle. You got to have, like you say, you got to have a separator over here. You got to have these pumps. So there's a lot more to it than just buying and dropping in a extraction line and being done with it. But
He did have a nice yeah, he had like a little miniature wax spinner. You seen that?
Yeah, I didn't see that. No.
It's like it like a drum. You know how Mr. Ed has that big wax spinner? Well, he had one like it. I don't know. It looked like a 35-gallon drum, but it was
Was
a
it
made
Mac?
product.
Was it a Maxant?
It looked like it because they had that screen over the top where they were dumping the wax into it and the honey, and it would spin and whatnot. He had buckets of dried wax to the side that I guess they scrape out of it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, there you go. I got a bottleneck here. I need to buy this machine. Oh, I got another bottleneck here. I need to buy this machine.
Yep.
And it goes on and on and on and on to where you get a full, you'd be like Ian up there with a wax spinner machine and a heater. And, that heater, what people don't understand is you've got that there auger in there mixing that honey and that wax. And he's got a certain type of pump there, probably a screw pump that pumps that up and goes through that clarifier or that heater up there. And then it goes down to that Cooks and Beal center float. And that's where he's got it automated, and that Cooks and Beal, if you bought that thing brand new, I think it's like $50,000, but
yeah, they had to get that, I guess, because of that automatic uncapper. With as many hives as they do, I'm sure that bottom of that uncapper fills up quick with wax.
Yeah, it's like what Mike Berry showed her. He had that there Maxant high-priced uncapping tank, and he had that trough just in the front end of it there. And this is getting filled up now, and he says, I got to take this out. Well, I guess the other end of that trough is just for the honey to drip.
Yeah.
See, when I do my stuff, I got that there Hive Butler, and I uncap and I put it in the extractor.
Yeah.
And people saying, trying to get faster. And I'm like, well, in my situation, I want to, by the time I do that, I might have to babysit the extractor because it's wobbling or something. Or it's time for a Coke break.
Hey, JW.
So, it kind of depends on what you're doing.
You're showing a lot of green there behind you.
Yeah, that's ancient history, all that stuff. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound
I've
good.
had a time. I don't know what's going on with this StreamYard stuff. I'm ignorant. I didn't come on with any great profound wisdom. I was just trying to see if I could get onto the chat or not. I've been messing with it all. I pulled honey all day today. I started at 9 this morning. I finished at 7. I extracted about 600 pounds myself, and I'm one more out old man.
Yeah, I bet you are.
It's work. Pulling honey is work.
Yeah,
it
is.
I had them all pulled. I'm just extracting. I pulled over the weekend.
Okay.
I had them all set up. All I'm doing is extraction. I got all my mediums done. Now I've got my hard stuff coming up for tomorrow. I got all my deeps to extract. So about half 10s and half 8s. So
yeah.
So JW, was that a 4020 back here? That one that doesn't have no open cab?
Yes, sir. I sold that though. I had an idiot come along. And I sold that 4020. It was a 72, Charlie. I sold it for $22,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw him coming, didn't you?
That's like my brother said.
3 times what I gave for it.
Yep.
It's like my brother was talking to somebody, and they were saying, 4020, and it sold for 12 or 15,000 at the time, here recently, in the last 3 or 4 years. And he said, well, the darn thing didn't cost no more than $7,000 brand new. And I think the guy said, well, he says, look at it this way. Where can you buy a 100 horsepower tractor for $15,000?
Yep.
And you really can't,
Yeah. Oh, I had a good one. Took good care of it. Wasn't beat up or banged up. A guy came by and offered me more than I could stand. So
So what?
I let it go.
Those are what 6420 or 60?
Yeah, 6430s. Those other two are with the cabs on them, and that's a little 3720 there. I still got.
There, that one there looks like mine.
Yeah,
Mine's a 6220, which
yeah.
it was used and all.
They are the new. That people aggravate me to death over those things. They are the new. That 6430 is kind of the new 4020s now. You know, everybody wants them. Seem to be pretty popular.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It just now they rating all these tractors at frame sizes like an F-150, 250, 350, 450, and all
Yeah.
down the line. Now it's you got a S5, 6, 7, and your different frame sizes. Like we got that newest tractor is a 6.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. We're always right now with this new bundleizer and all that stuff. And well, it's going to have to wait a few years, but I can see like an S7 tractor coming in. Sometimes.
I'm going the other way. I'm trying to slow down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing is with this bundleizer is you want something it's got to put out between 35 and 40 gallons a minute hydraulic feed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure of that. I never had the. I've always wished I had one, but I never did.
Well, I got my son. He found I saw that machine when it first come out, and I picked up the pamphlet.
Yeah.
And I stuck it in a filing cabinet, and he found it. He says, "Where'd you get this?" I said, "Well, that was when they first come out. They were $60,000 to $70,000."
Oh yeah.
And they were tricycle wheels in the front, and then the next year they went wide because they were probably tipping over, I guess. And even now, after 10 years or more, they've tweaked them to where like those front wheels now they're like dual wheels. And they were attached on the inside of the frame. Now they've attached them on the outside of the frame to give them even a much more wider stance for stability and stuff. So, yeah.
I spent my tractor money on I got me a new swarm catcher. I'll put it on one of these days. I get a picture of it. I bought me a 60-foot high lift, Charlie.
I was wondering.
Them suckers aren't going to get away from me this year. They're going to have to get high if they do. Might get
Now, is that where it's just a 4-wheel thing and you're in the bucket driving it? Is that what?
Yeah. It's a used one, but it's in real good shape. Everything works on it. I had to put new hydraulic lines. I bought 210 foot of hydraulic lines, so that wasn't too cheap. So.
No, it didn't.
So why did you buy that? Just to have it or what?
I got a bunch of trees around. I got a bunch of dead ash that's around buildings and stuff, and I'm going to have to take down a piece at a time. And I've been looking for one for a year or two, and I finally found one.
Yeah.
That's the price I wanted to give for one.
Yeah, my son's storing this here barren up there at my brother's place, and there's these tree limbs hanging over the darn driveway.
Yeah,
it's a multi-use common driveway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we had to go out in the hayfield to get around so he wouldn't drag the tops off the top of the
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, we're going to have to get up there and with a pole saw and cut the snot.
That's what I got this for. And one of my sons he's got use for it too. So we're just kind of partnership up on it. But I've been telling everybody that I bought it for a swarm catcher. And I'm going to use it for that, of course. But
that's like Ryan Peabody. He works for the electric company. He's got a bucket truck.
Yeah.
And I'll tell him, oh, you're in the swarm mobile.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah, I'm getting too old to stand on these ladders in the back of a pickup truck and trying to
Forget
get
that.
to these swarms.
Yeah.
I don't even like what you got there. I'm not much on heights. Maybe I guess maybe if you get kind of used to it, I guess.
And let me ask you guys something. It has nothing to do with their chat. Just pardon
Yeah.
my. Are you guys getting a new deal when you're on the show? If you come on like with Bill, Brad, are you getting some stuff down at the bottom that's different than what it was before?
You mean the controls?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, they updated it.
They updated it.
well, what's that supposed to mean? I've got a kind of like a microphone up or down and a
Yep.
camera
Yeah.
up or down and a plus a screen and like a settings and then a red button. I don't know what
Or you
happened.
can mute. You can mute your voice, or you can turn off your camera.
Or you can share.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
that plus is to share something. Is it?
Yeah.
yeah, the screen
Yeah, I'm
with the
pretty
plus
ignorant on
is
this
to
stuff.
share.
Like if I click on my microphone button,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
and then the
turns me
person
off.
with the plus is to invite somebody, and then the red box with the arrow in it is to
Yes.
leave the studio.
Oh, is that what that means? Okay.
Is to leave the studio?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. So you. Well, I appreciate it, fellas. I didn't, like I said, I don't have any information for anyone. I appreciate you letting me on, Bill. The reason I've been trying to get on ever since I got home, but I think maybe I got where it's going to work now. We'll see.
Well,
I
good.
couldn't get on with Joey last Saturday night. I usually get on with him. I never did get on.
Well,
Yeah,
JW, you're welcome to come in anytime.
Well, I don't have any profound information. I could tell you that.
I know that my subscription's coming up here around the 7th of August. I'm gonna unsubscribe and go back to the free version.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not paying them 300 or 432.
Well, it's getting ridiculously high. Everybody tells me. I just, what little I do is on the free version. I'm not going to give them. Don't mind giving a little bit, but I'm not going to give a lot.
Well, I think when I first started, I think it was $200 a year, which that was high enough. And now, and then I went in I kind of went into the website and I said, which version's right for you? And I took their little survey and I said, I kind of knew what the answer should be. And he said, oh yeah, you just need the hobbyist, which is, and I'm like, well, it's like Bill or Bob Walker said, how many times do you need more than 6 people on here?
Right.
So it's like, like I say, I don't need, like Bill's got his emblem up there and stuff like that. I don't have any of that kind of stuff. So.
I probably don't have 6 friends, Charlie, let alone. Way I aggravate people, I'll have everybody. I'm gonna get off here. I'm absolutely wore out. I'm telling you. I got home and showered, and then I've been messing, trying to get on, see if I could get on, and your whole show's about went on since I tried to get on. So
yeah, getting about that time anyway.
Yep. Yeah. Well, JW, thank you for coming on. Like I said, you can come in here anytime you want.
That was all for my self benefit. That wasn't to benefit anybody else. I just tried to see if I could get my computer lined up. All right, thanks again, fellas. We'll see y'all.
All right,
Have a good evening, JW.
I'm gonna head on out, guys.
It is about that time.
Yeah, good to see you.
It's good to see you, Brad. If you enjoyed the chat tonight, don't forget to smash that like button. And I will see you maybe Wednesday night on Tom's channel. We'll see how things go Wednesday. If not, I'll definitely see you Friday night on Charlie's channel. So y'all have a great beekeeping week, and we'll see you next week. Good night.